Nag-record na ba tayo?
Di ba?
Okay. Hi everyone. Good evening. Oh, we have 60 plus, 62. Oh, sorry. I keep on. Jo, actually you
Yes.
can do the live feed on our YouTube.
Okay.
Thanks. Hi, good evening everyone.
Good evening, everything.
Is it just here at Batangas or it's very, very hot now in the Philippines? As in Philippines. It's very hot here in the Philippines. I'm seeing my Greenbelt students entering the room. Good evening to Mary Christine. All the way. Hi, Roasting from Padre Garcia. So
Good
we're
evening,
just,
everything.
yeah. Hi, Rosel. Yeah, it's very hot here in the Philippines now. So we're now running 100 inside the Zoom room. And welcome, good evening, and welcome. A very, very hot evening all the way from the Philippines. So we're now here again with another learning session brought to us by Aztecs Page Academy in partnership with IXL CIE Review and Training Center and Pinoy IAs. This is Alpha TV. And for tonight, we will be having the topic how to drive a culture of innovation. I think this will be the first time. This will be the first time that we will be having a speaker, a esteemed speaker, and an author, and someone who is very into quality or she practices quality in terms of, I will guess, in terms of both professional and personal life. And this is the first time that we will be hosting a foreign speaker. And this is the start of Alpha TV covering or engaging with foreign speakers. Without further ado, our esteemed speaker for tonight with the topic how to drive a culture of innovation, Luciana Police, or we can call her Lou. Hi, Lou.
Hi, how are you doing today?
It's, as mentioned, it's very
Can you hear
hot.
me? Yeah.
It's very hot in the Philippines. We're talking about earlier. We're talking about originally you're from Argentina, but you're now at Texas, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Like, and right now in Argentina it's cold, but in Texas it's hot too. We
So
started
we're
going to the pool yesterday, so
Oh, okay, okay. So here in the Philippines, we can still go out because of the lockdown restrictions due to
hmm
COVID-19. But we're very excited. Actually, summer is actually ending, almost ending here in the Philippines. So
mm.
we might have summer next year. So no summer for Filipinos this year. But anyway,
Oh,
yeah. So anyway, I don't want to stall the learning session. So I'm gonna give you the control for the screen. So okay,
okay.
I think we're good to go. So see you later, Lou.
Thank you very much, Felix. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Okay, okay, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for being here today. So please feel free to, if you have some comments, I may ask some questions during the session, so please feel free to make those comments. Or if you have specific questions, we can leave them for the end. All right. As you know, we're all in these COVID-19 crazy times, and I think that innovation is very important today. It's something that can help us go through all these crises. Um, as you can see in the next picture, let me see if we can see it. Innovation, is no longer a desire. Um, it's something that we need to focus on if we want our company or if we want our lives to survive. As Felix said, for me, quality is not about just something that you use for work, but it's something that you use every day, every time in your life, everywhere you are. Actually, today with the COVID-19 crisis, we all had to quickly adapt to a new normal, and many non-engineers, like the ones in the pictures, just jumped up providing solutions for the healthcare industry, things that been there forever, like these surgical masks, and they never thought about different ways of doing them, right? And you figure out, I don't know if you saw the pictures of some nurses having here, very hurting, having everything hurt because of the mask, and then behind the ears. And a lot of people jump up to try to find out solutions for that. So it's really incredible how innovation, how creativity can come from anywhere in the company too. It's not only that, like the owners, like if you imagine Apple, you have Steve Jobs developing all the ideas. Well, that's not how it works. It can work from any type of employee working in the company. So that's why we're talking about culture of innovation, how to working on that. So there's this another picture. How this was my birthday actually. It was in April, and yes, I had to celebrate with my family online. It was weird, the part of the cake. I had to eat it myself with my family, but yes, this is something, again, another Zoom or this type of tools that maybe you as business people or students, you already use this a lot, but a lot of family members maybe were never ever uh, using this type of things to communicate with anyone. There, for them, it was just the face-to-face communication. And then we need to learn to use Zoom for the day-to-day, right? It was funny because it was my brother's birthday was on March 16, which is when actually all this started, at least here in the US. I was planning to travel to UK to see him, and I couldn't. And it's just, I was thinking, how can we meet? How can we meet with the whole family? I have my parents in Argentina, me in the US, he in the UK, and I said, well, let's use WhatsApp, and we just do a meeting all together. And well, we never did that in the past. So yes, innovation means also using the same things that you use every day for something. You can use it for something else. So that's about creativity and trying to take advantage of ideas that you have in the past or that are really current and use it for something else. So that means that innovation is really part of your day to day. Probably you already realized with all these crises that one of the competencies of the future will indeed be creativity, so that you are able to solve new problems in new and effective ways. The good news is that creativity is not a genetic trait. It can be nurtured through little daily habits that we all can acquire every day. Like if you experiment, if you ask questions, if you observe, if you do networking, could be online or could be virtual, but all these things are triggering in your head new ideas that you can use for, again, for work or for home, to improve anything in your life. And there are companies that actually depend on innovation and make it part of their day to day. These are behaviors that need to be trained in this company so that everyone in this company is focusing on innovating. And the good thing is, again, as it's not something that is not genetic, it's not something that comes with you when you were born. You can develop through time. So companies can develop all these habits in the employees, can train them so that they can become more innovative. So we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to show you a picture, and let me, I don't know if you understand what this means. Try to describe what you see. Maybe if you can if you have any comments on what you think this is, please write in the chat box. Maybe Felix, if you see something in the chat box, let me know.
Sure, sure.
Any
Uh,
ideas at all? Hmm. Yes, so it's difficult, very difficult to figure out what this is. So this is a bike that is for 5 people. So this bike was found in Google headquarters. So they designed this bicycle so that their employees can go outside and have meetings in the outside world, not just in a typical room. For them, the environment, the context is crucial for innovation. So yes, this was me when I visited Google headquarters. The ASQ Latin America organized a visit. I was able to attend. So this you will see a lot of examples about Google in this session today. This is something else. What else do you see here? This is a document that tells you how to optimize task sizing when you are doing software development. And do you know where I found this? Yes, it's weird, but yes, I found it in a restroom in Google. So what they do is they find different ways to communicate you, to tell you, hey, you need to innovate. So this type of documents was just posted on the wall in the restroom, so whenever you were there, you were able to entertain yourself, for example. So this gives you an idea of what's the culture, what do they want you to do, how they want you to behave, to communicate, to think. So that's why Google become one of the most innovative companies. In 2019, it was named as the most innovative company according to the Boston Consulting Group. So really, what they discover is that innovation, to be effective, has to be also discipline. So they find out there are several ways that they can promote this within the company, and you can do that as well. The reality is that you cannot dictate innovation. So you can have processes for following, quality procedures, but there's it's very difficult that you really can tell someone, hey, this is your book, and from now on you start innovating because you read the procedure. So it's not like that. You cannot dictate that. You cannot, in the same way you cannot dictate happiness, you cannot dictate innovation. So it's all about really building a culture of innovation where ideas can flow or can be supported so that they can flourish organically in the company. Managers really, and probably this is your experience, at least is mine in working for different companies, managers really want you to have good ideas, but probably they will not do anything with them. Sometimes our ideas are stuck somewhere and never get to the right hands. Usually employees, and I've seen this in all the companies I've worked for, they have lots, tons of ideas. And especially now, millennials and the new generations, you are super smart and you also want to share what you know. You want to share the ideas that you have. But it's very difficult for you to share that with someone that will really use those ideas. So it's very difficult to convince managers, hey, this is something that I would like to use. Usually employees have these great ideas on how to maybe use different tools or how to create different processes, how to improve customer service. And they mention to the manager, and what happens next? Well, there are no processes to capture all these ideas. Middle managers are afraid to take a risk. We're going to talk about risk later on. So they don't want to be seen as weaker because you had the idea, not me. So even they still, maybe they steal the idea from you, or they just not present it because they don't want to take the risk again. So this is something that it's very important. How can we make use of these great ideas? What happens if the company is not promoting ideas, and on top of that is whatever ideas you already have, even if the context is not helping you to bring these ideas, they are just trying to say, hey, please shut up, don't do anything extra, just be okay where you are. What happens now is that employees are not engaged at work. As I was saying, especially millennials and the new generations, Gen Zs, everyone that was born after 1980, they are very innovative, but they are also willing to communicate those ideas. Gen Xers, the ones before 1980 and the previous generations, baby boomers, for example, they were not keen of sharing the ideas that they have, but the new generations want. So the problem is that companies now are based on scarcity. So there aren't enough managerial positions for everyone. There are rankings. So you have people that are first, and then the ones that are not first receive less benefits. And there is no enough time or money for all the ideas. So employees really learn to keep the status quo and avoid showing the ideas or showing things that are really wrong in the company because they are afraid. Fear is a means to keep everything under control. But as we can see, keeping things under control right now is not helping. We really need people to go out of their comfort zone and do something different. So when in this case we see employees that they cannot share their ideas and they are really willing to share their ideas, what happens is that these employees get really disengaged in the company. And this represents like $30 billion per year only in the US. Maybe you can find out in the Philippines because of uh, millennials and the new generations quit and move to other jobs looking for companies that can help them develop the ideas that they have. So there are many things that you can do with ideas. You can see ideas and problems as something that is bad, or you can see them as opportunities. And this is what Alphabet and Google discovered, that ideas are great and we need to promote them. That's why, for example, Alphabet, which is the Google's parent company, hit the $1 trillion market cap for the first time last year. So, as we were talking about Google, we can depend on one smart guy or two smart guy, for example. In the case of Google, we have the two founders, or we can build innovation into the culture so that we help everyone become innovative. So strategy is what the company wants to do. Marketing is what the company say that they will do, but culture is what really the company does. So culture, not a strategy or marketing, is what will drive innovation in the long term. And well, as Aristotle says, and as you can see this in the phrase, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So for a company to become really innovative, we need everyone to work at the highest potential and to work together. That's how the whole will be greater than the parts. So what we're saying here is that we need to build a context that makes people feel comfortable to come up with new ideas, free to share them, and free to be able to find a team to implement those ideas, because some ideas are really complex. So it was found that the team structure, such as the context, the team leading coaching, and how the teams are formed, together with the shared beliefs, are the outcomes, are what makes a team successful or not. And this is what we're going to see today, how especially the context is something that we can see, that we can manage, so that it can impact the culture, so that we can have the behaviors, the habits that we need every day. So what is culture? We're talking about culture of innovation, right? So culture are really the behaviors and the habits that the company value and respect, and that help them make decisions every day. So culture are maybe things that employees don't even think about. They just do things in a certain way, and you can drive that. You can, with the context, with how you reward the employees, how you organize the workplace, you can help them have the behaviors you expect and repeat those behaviors so that they become habits. So again, you can have the behavior of raising your hand when you have an idea or not. So if you want employees to be the ones that, yeah, we want a lot of raising hands when we have a meeting, so you have to promote that. And if you have that every time, every employee learn to provide their ideas in the meetings, that becomes a habit for them. So it's a habit for them to participate, to speak up, and that is great for innovation. So if we think about what you know uh, traditional companies would do, they would do a meeting and try, the maybe the owner or the president trying to just to speak in the meeting, and we all nod and just go ahead with the idea that he presented. While in innovative companies, if you don't participate in the meeting, you shouldn't be in the meeting. So if you're in the meeting, you really need to raise your hand and say what you think. Even if you don't agree with the president or with the owner or with the manager, you need to speak up. That's how we can innovate. Feeling safe to take the risk, to say, hey, this idea is wrong, or I think there's something that we can improve. This feeling safe to be yourself, and this help you decide fast, and open participation will create us all this innovation, this productivity, and this engagement, really. So this is, for example, again, another picture from Google. And I don't know if you know how's the story, but these small boards that they post everywhere, this is how they created um, the Google Ads. They just, one of the founders had a problem that he couldn't solve about how to improve the, the Google Ads that they had at the time, and they posted the problem on these boards. So one of the employees took this board, read about it, and found a team and say, hey, let's stay the whole weekend here till we solve this problem. And they did. They solved the problem that made the company now be trillionaire. So again, that's how powerful it is to share problems with employees. They can really help you solve them. So analyzing different companies, I found out that there are 7 elements, what I call the 7 R's, that build the right context that will drive team members to have the right behaviors so that you can have and build the culture that you want. So again, these behaviors through repetition, the last R, will become habits through time. And employees will be innovating even if they don't think about it. They just will be part of their work. They will not be thinking, oh, I have to innovate. It just will be part of their work. The same way you wake up and you brush your teeth and you eat, you will be innovating. So that's pretty amazing. All right, so let's start with the first R. So how are we going so far, Felix? Everything all right?
Yeah.
Any comments so far?
They're actually listening attentively. I am not seeing any questions for now.
All right, wonderful, wonderful. So if you have any questions, again, try. You can write it down now or keep it for from the at the end. You'll see several interesting things in the minutes that we still have. All right. So the first R has to do with the reason. the reason or the clear purpose, which is the main filter on what behaviors will be accepted in the company and why. So this is a good example. This is the CEO, Dr. Reddy's, of a global pharmaceutical company, which is headquartered in India. He was 33 years old, and he he was managing a big company. The company had was operating in more than 27 countries with more than 20,000 employees. Decision making had grown up, and branches of the organization had become misaligned, really. Over the years, there were lots of procedures, like every company that starts growing, at the very beginning, you can control it, but through time, you have to build procedures so that you can standardize all the processes that you need to be done across the different companies. But of course, there are many good reasons to have those procedures, but the problem is that those procedures has slowed down a lot the company. So in the past, bureaucracy was good, but through time you realize that it doesn't help innovation. Um, and you can see this with the vaccines that people are trying to develop for COVID-19. Everyone say, well, we want the vaccine now. But the doctors say, well, no, we need to wait a year and a half so that this vaccine is developed. And usually a year and a half for a vaccine is super quick. They usually take like 5 years. So that's how you see that procedures. And the reason why they take so long is not because the idea is not there. They already know how to do it, but they need to test it. They have different procedures so that they don't get sued for the results of the vaccine. So this is what happened in all the healthcare companies. But there may be things that they can change. So this young CEO thought, okay, I would like this company to have a culture of innovative people. I would like to have a patient-centered culture. So he said, okay, why don't we develop a new purpose for the company that help us direct our efforts to having that innovation mindset? So they work with their team. They thought about the needs of everyone who was working for the company. They thought about the shop floor workers, the scientists, external partners, even investors, the patients, and they come up with a purpose, which is good health can wait. So, as you heard well, they didn't define the purpose just, it was not the owner or the CEO defining the purpose, but they invited everyone being part of the company to think about that. And that's great because you have a multidisciplinary team, you have different mindsets, and that helped to create a purpose that was good for everyone. Sorry, and everyone was feeling comfortable with this. And what they did with this purpose, they didn't just post it on motivational posters on the wall. Really, the leadership team began to use it to start guiding their own decisions. So they built two innovation studios in India. And as an example, after this purpose was defined, good health can't wait. One of the scientists developed a product in 15 days. 15 days, imagine just 2 weeks. Something that in the healthcare industry nobody talks about. Again, uh, something can take years and years, and they develop something in 15 days. So when you have a clear purpose, it helps everyone in the company to understand what you need, and they can make decisions on their own much better. So the second R has to do with rules. So you have to design principles or rules that will guide those behaviors that you expect, and had to do with the first reason or purpose. So you have the purpose, and then you say, okay, these are the rules that you will use to follow that purpose. So what are these rules? These rules are really um, principles or rules that the team will use to participate. For example, Google defined a set of basic principles, ideas that can be adopted pretty much by any organization, but these guides their employees on how to work. So these are the eight of the rules that you have, and the first one, for example, is think 10x. That means that you have to dream big, almost impossible. You may not accomplish at 100%, but for sure you will have a great idea. So what they are saying is, okay, just think about something that is truly impossible. You want everyone in the world to have internet access, and that's the way they thought. If you just they just thought small, they would have internet access only in the US, for example. And they said we want internet everywhere, so they even had um, these air balloons having internet so that even remote cities could have access to internet and could have access to Google. So the other thing that is important to them is to focus on the user. So they want their employees, everyone in Google needs to focus on satisfying the user, not the customer. So if you know how Google works, so probably you're Googling something, you're looking for something, and you're not paying for anything that you use. Probably you use Gmail and you don't pay for it. Someone else is paying for that, right? That's the advertisers, the people who is paying for the Google ads. So that is the customer for Google, but the user is you, and Google wants you to be happy. If you're happy, they know that the customer who is paying will be happy too. So that's why what they focus on. They focus on um, that you can find your results faster. Then the other thing that is important for them is fail fast and learn. The so what they want is that um, you quickly develop products and you test them with the user as soon as possible. So if the product is going to be bad, then you just cancel it right away. You don't keep producing something that is not going to be useful. In the past, they used to spend 1 to 3, 4, 5 years building a product that maybe then it's launched and nobody likes it. So now how developers work, they just say, just launch whatever you have, test it, and then you keep improving it. For example, right now I'm working on an app that I will tell you about it later on at the end. And this app is for you to be able to access to a lot of material that I produce. So the developers told me, okay, we have the basic features. Let's just launch it now and see how it works. So you don't care if it's perfect, but you want comments from the users on how the buttons look like or what kind of information they would look like. So that's how things work right now. That takes us to the next rule, which is share everything you can. You have to share all the information you have, all the questions you have, and that's very, very important in companies that they don't hide information from you. Many companies even share information about earnings, about cost, so that the employees are very much aware of what's going on. And again, if you want to satisfy the user, you need to have as much information possible from the user. And that's something maybe that the company can provide, and they should provide to everyone. They should. That's why they have open access to everything, even individual objectives. They are all in a shared drive on a shared board so that everyone can see that. And when you share things, yes, you need to share everything. But what they're saying is uh, the other rule is share data, not opinions. So it's very important that we not just think, okay, this is what I think will happen, but I need to say why I think this will happen, and I need to provide information. The other thing is that they say we want ideas from everywhere. They look for ideas from everywhere. So for them, every employee can bring a great idea. Again, that's how they developed the Google Ads. It didn't come from the owners. It was improved by a team of employees. And That's how the post-it notes, um, this were developed too. It was an error from an employee and a team of employees, and it came up with a great idea to post things on the wall or on whiteboards. So innovation can come from anywhere, and we started the presentation with that, with regular people, not engineers, developing great surgical masks. So look for ideas everywhere you are. And the last two rules have to do with hiring the right people. The people for nowadays, it was always like that, but now we're placing more importance on the people in the companies. So if you want a company to be innovative, you have to train the people in your company to be innovative, and you have to hire people that are more prone to that. And the last rule, the 7-20-10 rule. And this has to do with help people to be free to innovate. Basically, 70% of the work of everyone in Google is for, their basic work. Is like if you're an accountant, okay, 70% of your work will be accounting. But then you will have 20% for projects that maybe are not that much aligned to what you're doing, maybe something kind of different, maybe accounting for a different department or a different country that you didn't think about. And 10% would be for something super new, super different, that maybe it's not even aligned to the purpose of the company. But it has to be something that is super innovative. So what they're trying to say is, if you have one day, if you work 5 days a week, at least one of your days in the week will be for projects that you will choose, that you would like to work on. I would love that they are connected to the purpose of the company. If not, well, maybe it's something that in the end will be connected to that. But this helps employees to say, hey, I can be also an entrepreneur even working for the company. And that engages a lot the employees because they have ideas and they can work on them. So they are not the only ones that have principles. I also visit Zappos in Vegas. Zappos is a shoe company that now it's part of Amazon. And they also built 10 rules, which are really different to the ones in Google, but some are similar. For example, you also have focusing on the customer. You have be humble, be passionate, do more with less. Deliver wow through service. So for them, service is truly important. And these 10 rules were also defined with the employees. So when they realized that the company was growing and they were hiring a lot of employees and they were not aligned with the ideas of them of the original founders. So they said, okay, we need rules to help people work the way we want. And that's how they ask the employees, hey, what do you think are the rules that help you work in your way? And they came up with these 10 ideas. So we have the reason, we have the rules, and then we need routines to help these rules become habits. The routines are truly important. So you may have a routine of using post-its that we mentioned before, quite a lot, like this picture, or the company can help you with the routine to use post-its in a different way. And now that we all are working virtually, there are many softwares that you can have to use to share your ideas in a different way, to store the ideas that you have and to share with your team members. So for example, you can see here uh, on the top right, this is Mural, and this is showing sticky notes that you can use online. So you can have a meeting and use Mural to be able to share ideas and post your ideas on the virtual wall. So this has some version that is free. So you can try it. Then on the left, you have Retrium, which is a tool to help you organize meetings that are basically retrospective meetings, that are the meetings that are held in agile teams when they're having a scrum. At the end of the scrum, they have a retrospective meeting to see how the sprint worked. So what you have to start doing, what you have to stop doing because it didn't work, and what you have to continue to because it really worked well. Another tool that you can use to collaborate. And again, if the company provides these tools, it helps you become part of the routine of your work. Instead of posting post-its on the wall, you can use these tools to have the post-its online and share with everyone else. The other tool that we have here is Asana or Trello that also help everyone to see the ideas of everyone. As Google was saying, one of the rules is to share everything you can. So it's great that everyone knows what task are you doing, and you know what everyone else is doing or has to do, so that maybe if you're behind schedule, someone can help you, or if someone else is behind schedule, you can help them. Another routine is has to do with how you develop meetings. So there are many companies that are used to have meetings of 1 hour, 2 hours. Whenever you have the meeting, no one shows up, or they show up late. They are not organized. Nobody sends a minute after the meeting. So these are routines that are not well defined and don't help the company to be productive. So what I'm inviting you here is to start the 30-minute meeting challenge. So what happens is that I realize that most of the meetings are 1 hour, and usually people, just are not effective conducting the meeting because they want to use the whole hour, because they don't want to they don't want to finish earlier because they feel like, oh, I didn't do enough. So what if you set the meeting for 30 minutes? If you want to do that, you will be able to save 50% of your time. A lot of managers spend more than 60 or 70% of their time in meetings. Imagine if they can reduce all that time by 50%. But how you do it? You cannot just say, hey, tomorrow we just cut up the half percent of the time of the meetings and that's it. You work on it. No, you need to define routines to help that happen. So you have to make sure the organizer prepares the meeting, the agenda is perfectly clear, exactly what needs to happen at what time. You need to ask members to participate. You need to start on time. You can make sure everyone in the meeting is participating. Then the organizer is committed to deliver the minutes after the meeting. And that way, if we are super structured on how we set the meeting and we define, hey, nobody can speak for 5 minutes. You just have 1 minute to express your idea, and that's about it. And if you have anything that you'd like to comment, you can have a specific meeting later on. So that way, we organize the meeting to be only 30 minutes. But again, that's something that should be defined and driven by the company, maybe by HR or by management. And I'm bringing meetings to this discussion because meetings are super important. For example, here we have a picture of Pixar, and meetings for them were super, super important. Pixar is a company that develops movies like Toy Story, and they were super successful in all the 17 movies they developed. And one of the reasons is because their meetings were called brain trust meetings, where they had to say whatever they thought about the movie. So if someone was not in agreement with a part of the movie, they had to talk about it so that they can correct it. So really, the way you conduct your meeting can be the what makes successful your company. Or you could have this people falling asleep in your meeting. I don't know if you saw this, but well, there's a lot of stories now of people falling asleep at home while they're having their Zoom session with the teacher. So it's just a bit of laughing in the middle.
I'm still awake. I'm still awake, Lou.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Yes, sometimes it's weird when you're doing these webinars that you don't know what's happening on the other side. It's really nice when you can see the faces of everyone looking at you and saying if they are worried or they look ashamed or not, or they look amazed. But well, this is what we need to get used to do.
Yeah.
Um,
But don't worry,
so
your audience is still alive. They're
wonderful, wonderful.
actually, yeah, awake and alive listening to you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you for reminding me that. All right, so I'm gonna be quick because we have some minutes yet to share. So let's see the last 4 R's, which has to do the next one with roles and responsibilities. So what is this? For innovation to happen more often and especially more organically, this is you don't have to ask for it. It will just happen. So you need everyone to be innovative, and this is not easy. If you're used to follow instructions to work, you will not provide ideas for improvement. So what I've seen is that the most innovative companies are the ones where the teams are self-organized. So like companies that do agile, for example, they are self-organized teams. And what does it mean? Self-organized teams are usually small, from 7 to 12 people, no more than that. They are very transparent. As we talked about information, everything is shared. They are autonomous. So that means that they can make decisions on their own. So that means they are quick decision makers. Another very important thing is that they are cross-functional. So you have different functions in the same team. That means that you don't have teams are not all accounting, all marketing, all development. No, we have a team where we have one developer, one manager, one sales, one marketing. And even though we may have managers, managers are not the only ones that make decisions. Everyone can make decisions. So that make them self-organizing. So everyone know what to do, they know how to do it, and they work on that. And the other important thing is that they are very disciplined. So if we agree to do something, that's what we do. So again, innovation is not just about doing anything the way I want, but also about following the rules that the company defined. So following the rules, it doesn't mean that you don't have to be innovative. They are not two things that are not compatible. Actually, there are different ways that you can innovate in a disciplined way. For example, design thinking. That's a method to innovate, and it's a superstructure. So what does it mean? That everyone's responsibility is to innovate. And still, you can have ways to share responsibilities in a project. So let's say you had an idea and you need to develop something, you still need to have responsibilities very clear. And again, another tool here that you can use to share responsibilities online is Trello, where you can have, these pictures show who is the responsible. It's only one person per task, but it's truly important that you have responsibilities and roles very clear to be able to innovate in a disciplined way. Then we have results and rewards, which is very important. In Google, for example, they have what they call OKRs, which is they have a clear objective for a project, and then they have key results, 3 or 5 very well-defined metrics with targets that they want employees to achieve. So they have OKRs for every employee. So rewards are, so the way you measure results is really important. Some companies use gamification to measure the results of the employees. In this case, this is another tool that you can use, which is called Gamifica, which is a combination of challenges, scoring system, badges, rankings, and mechanics of competition that is leading in some companies to reduce absenteeism, because this in a challenging way, in a game way. They tell you, hey, it's important that you innovate or that you provide new ideas or whatever you need employees to do. So you have to find ways to measure what the employee is doing and reward him for the right behaviors. Mm, Another R has to do with a risk-taking approach. We talked about that throughout the presentation. And this is about taking risk. Taking risk, which means saying something that you think, or doing something that is maybe is not expected from you. And we talked about Aristotle in the past. We talked about the whole is more than the parts. And Google, for example, Google employees, being engineers, thought so. If we have great teams, but we also have teams that are not that great, there must be something. So as you know, they measure that. They had these OKRs. They measure how teams were successful and how teams were not successful. And then through this research, they defined that there were 5 traits that made teams more successful than others. And the driver that was most important to make a team successful was actually psychological safety. So they had other things like impact, meaning, structure, dependability, but the most important one was psychological safety. And what is this? This is the shared belief, so it's part of the culture, that the group is a safe place for taking risk. So when a group uh, has the confidence that the team will not embarrass, reject, or punish someone for speaking up, it describes a team climate characterized by interpersonal trust and mutual respect, in which people are comfortable being themselves. This is crucial for innovation. People tend to avoid doing things that can negatively influence how other people perceive their competence. They think that if they say something that is stupid, they will not be looked in a good way, and they can impact negatively how they interact. Psychological safety is a belief that yes, I can be myself, can speak up, and nobody will say anything wrong about me. They will say, okay, let's implement this idea. Let's try this. And this can bring you bad stress or good stress. Bad stress is that you will feel maybe you will not feel relaxed, or you will feel that nobody listens to you, or you will be super careful not to make any mistakes, and this really really stressful. But if you have psychological safety in your environment, you will feel free to ask questions, you will feel free to say, hey, this is wrong. um, you will not feel embarrassed to talk, and you will trust your team. So it has a huge impact on performance, engagement, and innovativeness, because you feel safe to take small risk by saying what you think or investing time on a particular idea. And this picture, for example, is from Salesforce. It's based in San Francisco, and his CEO, Mark Benioff, is also very much keen of psychological safety. So, for example, in his company, they develop what they call equality teams, which are teams that there's one for Hispanic community, there maybe one for Asian community, maybe one for LGBT. Everyone in these special communities can talk about their specific problems, and this helps a lot to keep employee engagement and psychologically safe environment. What's the good thing about being psychologically safe? Well, this is a great idea. This is a great example from Amazon. I bought this hammock to have at home to rest during the summer. And then, this is the letter I received from them. You have received a message from the Amazon seller Hammock Sky. Dear Hammock Sky customer, in a galaxy far, far away, your hammock has been gently taken by the relaxation engineers from the hammock as sky shelves with soft velvet gloves and placed into a mothership headed for Earth. So this is just introduction. They're just telling me they shipped my hammock. So they could have said, I shipped your hammock. Or they could have said all this, right? So this is an innovative way. Someone thought of this and someone was allowed to include this in an email. It's a risk because I may not like it, but they say, hey, they may not like it or they may show it in a presentation to 400 people in Philippines. You don't know, right? So yes, this is the power of innovation. And how you make this happen, how you make again these behaviors be part of your culture, of your day-to-day, you repeat it. New habits are behaviors that are repeated through time. So how your company helps employees to repeat the right behaviors is key for driving the desired culture. So you need to train employees to do that. In Toyota, for example, they had this unknown cord that you can see here, this the yellow cord that is reminding employees that if you have a problem, you just trigger from the unknown and they will call your supervisor to help you and they will stop on the production line. So this is a way to say your employee, hey, you have a problem, you speak up. So you need to make sure you develop these unknown cords everywhere in your company. And what happens if this is not enough? You need to use coaching. You have to have leaders that can help you repeat these right behaviors into habits. Many companies like Apple, Google, Amazon had great coaches. Like, for example, in this case, they had Bill Campbell that helped them coach their employees. So really good good leaders can be the good apple or bad leaders can be the bad apple. So if you have a bad apple in your team and the leader is not present, this bad apple can make everyone be bored or not to. This bad apple could be someone that say, hey, don't produce ideas, or ideas are bad, and they're always bombarding your ideas. So the leader has to transform this bad apple into a good apple. So leaders are super important in innovation. And there are many uh, practices that you can avoid to promote innovation. One of this is annual performance reviews. Annual performance reviews make people not participate a lot because they just have one time to speak to their supervisor. So performance reviews should be more often, should be continuous. That's what the new generations expect from you, to have feedback more often. Rankings are also something that threatens innovation because people are placed first or play or last, or they are in the middle based on how they follow procedures, not how they innovate. So if you want to have rankings, well, you need to rank them based on innovation. Otherwise, you will have people just following procedures and not thinking about out of the box. Then the other thing is high potentials. So, for example, the company that I mentioned, Pixar, they had these brain trust meetings and they don't have the managers there, or they don't have Steve Jobs, which was part of the company at that time. Because if they had Steve Jobs there, Steve Jobs would say something and everyone would say, yes, you're right. And that's high potential. That's someone that has a lot of potential in the company, and that can drive everyone to think the same way. And they don't want that. You want everyone to be able to participate, even a very young employee that just enter into the company. Why? Because the last thing, you don't want judging, assuming, or blaming. You want everyone to be heard, not to be judged, no matter the position they are in the company. You don't want to assume anyone that you are the best, you are the worst. That's what ranking does. That says, okay, this person is first in the ranking, so they are always right. And that's not the case. So it's better that you listen to everyone, that everyone can be right at any time. So how do you rate your company in innovativeness based on all this we talked about? Well, that's a question for you to think about, and try to think all the things that I mentioned so far, how you can implement them in your company? What things can you change? Remember, even though you're not the owner, even though you're not the manager, innovation can come from anyone. So you can always say what you think, and you can always um, provide suggestions to improve. So thank you all very much. Do you have any questions? Please, this is the right time to do them.
Hi, Lou. So yeah,
Hi.
that was an hour full of learning. I guess, and I will bet that your listeners, your Filipino listeners, we also have listeners coming from out of the Philippines, coming from other parts of the world. So we have international participants also. So thank you for that.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thank you for that 1 hour. So this is the first time that this is the most quiet session so far in terms of chat box noise. Maybe they are very into your topic about innovation, and it's like we're actually listening to a masterclass about innovation. So we're very grateful about this.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and Lou here agreed to answer some of our questions. So if you have any questions, what questions do you have? So we can ask Lou about her thoughts about your questions. So we can accept questions via our YouTube live feed. We have 110 people at our YouTube channel watching, and we have 100 here at Zoom. So
Wonderful.
yeah. We
So this is very important. Questions are very important, as I mentioned all throughout the presentation. Feel free to ask whatever you think that may be something that I didn't think about, or maybe something that we can go deep. Um, Questions are the treasure of innovation. It was, why is this way? Why is this happening? Why this is not happening the other way? Why these
mhm,
surgical masks are made this way and they are not built in a different way, right?
yes.
So it's all about helping the employees to ask themselves how
Yes.
things could be.
Yeah. Hey Lou, we have now questions on queue. This one is from an anonymous attendee.
Okay.
What if the manager always yells at the
Mhm.
employees, and if there are suggestion or ideas that employees are raising, they just turn it down and tells them that they are useless ideas?
Mhm. Well, yes, thank you for that question. And this is very common. Unfortunately, there are many managers that they think they are right and they have power because of their position, and that's why they yell at you. Sometimes they don't even yell, but just but not listening to your question is like yelling, right? They don't pay attention to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So the best thing I would say in those cases, uh, one of the regular answers would be, okay, just go to your immediate supervisor, to the one that is on top of him, and tell him your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But that would be the traditional way, right? So the best way I would recommend is that you team up. All right. So the power of the masses, the power of the bottom up participation is awesome. So what you need to do is maybe talk to your teams, to your team members, right? Is that your idea? You think he's yelling, or is everyone in the same channel think, how this manager, we cannot participate because he's not allowing us to do that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, hey, team up with your team and say, let's do something about it. Why don't we talk to him? Why don't we provide ideas from the bottom? So when you are together, again, the whole is much more than the sum of the parts.
Mm-hmm.
So together, you can talk to him and bring more ideas, bring more solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be more powerful than you
Mm-hmm.
on your own.
Yeah.
So yeah. And also, sometimes it depends on the type of company.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's only one manager that is like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes all the managers are like that because the owner or the president, right, is
Yeah.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes it's better that you just, if you're the only one uncomfortable with that, you may want to leave the company because that is not the right culture for you. But if you're not the only one and there's other people in the same situation, again, team up
Mm-hmm.
and work, innovate from the bottom up.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. So thank you for that answer, Lou. There are a lot of questions now, so I hope we can answer this. But I think we're gonna minimize or we're gonna just use the remaining time that we have. So this one is from Aristotle Se.
Mhm.
Any suggestions on how we can secure psychological safety and encourage to innovate in this time of crisis?
Well, yes. So psychological safety has to do with how you make people feel safe to speak up or feel
Mm-hmm.
safe to be themselves. So there are many ways you can do that. You can do that online too. So how can you do that? If you have a team of people, maybe you can contact them one by one, speaking on the phone or having separate Zoom meetings with them. Just try to figure out, hey, how are you feeling, how are you doing, what are your concerns. So that's a way of caring for the other people. Other thing that you can do is organize meetings very very often. So for example, my daughter, she's doing school online right now, and they are meeting every single day, 3 times a day. They're meeting in the morning, at midday, and at 3 p.m. So that's a way to help people say, hey, we care about you and we care about your ideas. And during those meetings, it's not just the teacher speaking. Sometimes the teacher says, okay, now you are the one that is going to lead the meeting. Or she reads a story and everyone can say what they think about the story. So you can build psychological safety everywhere you are, and even especially in the crisis is when you need psychological safety the most. So most important things here is that you open a channel so that people can talk to you, can communicate. uh, as you can see right now with the questions, at the very beginning you were kind of, oh, I don't know what to ask. But then when you know there's an opportunity and you have the time, you feel free to ask the questions. So try to build that channel with your team. And again, if you're not the leader, you can ask for that channel. You can say, hey, why don't we do this meeting so that we can speak up? Yeah, there's always an opportunity.
So there are several workarounds on how to do it. So
Yes,
you just
yes, sure.
have to maybe you just have to find what fits you.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. So with innovation, with psychological safety, this is not black and white. So
Hmm.
there are many ways to do it. That's why being going virtual doesn't mean you cannot do it.
Yeah.
But you still have to be innovative. You have to
Hmm.
think about different processes to do that, different ways. And again, it's up to your team. It's how you know how much time you have.
Hmm. Yeah.
But there's always a way out. And if you have more questions about that, you can just contact me and we can think together of different ways to work it out in your specific situation.
Yeah. So thank you for that answer. There are a lot of questions now, but I think we can only answer three more questions. So let's get a question from YouTube. So this is from Gio Marcos. Is creativity and innovation uh, same? He says he is a little confused. Thank you.
Mhm. Well, no, it's not the same, but they are similar. So when you have creativity, is that you have ideas, you think of different ways of doing things. But innovation actually means that you implement those ideas productively. So when you innovate, you're actually using that idea and creating a new product or creating a new process or a new service. So you have to promote both. So you have to promote creativity, and that's maybe doing brainstorming sessions or building new channels to communicate or sharing information. But that's not enough. So you need to build a disciplined process so that you can make that creativity become innovation, so that you really build a product or a process out of that. So that's why we were talking about responsibilities, we were talking about
Mm,
agile teams, we were talking
yeah.
about sprints. Those are ways, or design thinking, for example, those are ways so that you can standardize how you can use creativity to build something that works.
Yeah, I agree because just a segue. In my book Creativity Tools, I actually differentiate it as creativity is the process of generating ideas, while innovation is the process of making those ideas happen. So I think,
Wonderful.
yeah. So if I'm gonna promote my book. This is actually
Please.
available at Amazon
Great.
Kindle. Yeah, it's available at Amazon Kindle. But anyway, this is not my time. I just had the idea of mentioning it. So
It's a
thank you.
tool, sir, to share. Excellent.
Yeah. So thank you. I hope Gio Marcos had received the answer he is expecting from Lou. Next is another question from YouTube. Can an employee manage a non-innovative leader and create an innovative culture?
Well, again, I tend to agree that yes. So, um, in the past or in traditional companies, the structure would be a pyramid, right, where all the information would come from top down. So all the ones that can have ideas that can bring problems or can bring solutions are the one on top. Now we're expecting companies to change that, and instead of becoming a pyramid, will be more uh, like a diamond, right? Where everyone is participating, where everyone is providing ideas. In a diamond, you need all the parts to be shiny, to be clean, so that diamond shines as itself, as a whole, right? So that's the way we think now. That means that you, as an employee, even if you are the newest employee in the company, you should be able to bring those ideas. And there are lots of teams that are self-organized. That means that no matter, there's no ranking in the team. There's no one that is better than the other. Everyone can lead. So I don't know how's your company. Could be very traditional, very pyramidal, and that will make it more difficult for you to propose ideas for your manager, but you can still try. You can still try and see what happens. Again, if you team up with other people, that would help you get more power to bring those ideas to life. But again, right now, companies are turning a lot, so maybe your company is not that structured. And yes, you don't be scared. Remember that ideas are good for the company. You can have that great idea that will make the company be trillionaire. So don't be afraid. Even everywhere you are, you can do that. All you have to do to manage your manager, right, as you said, is to be respectful. If you are respectful and show the data, remember that we talked about that with Google. Show not just your idea, but hey, this is how we can implement it. This is the resources that we need. This is the time that we need. And I have this team of people with experience to make this happen. Hey, why not? You have all the resources that you need. You have your idea very clear. You have all the process defined. So propose it. Okay. But if you're just going to try with an idea with no data, no information, no team, yeah, probably you will not be able to succeed. Not even in Google. So when you have an idea and it's maybe against the rules in the company, be prepared. That's the most important thing I can tell you. Be prepared with a lot of information, research well, so that your idea is more powerful. Is that
Wow.
clear, Felix?
Yeah, wow. That was a full of advice coming from you, Luke. So I think you managed to touch about having fears, and there's a question related to that.
All right.
Let me find that. Wait. Yeah. This is in relation to the phrase "feel safe to take risk."
Mhm.
So the question is, what do we do with the fear we have from taking risk?
Right. So one of the main reasons why you are afraid to take risk is because you are afraid of what may happen after you take the risk, right? So what you have to do is reduce that risk. So there are many ways to reduce it. Yeah, it also depends on the type of risk. So, for example, if you're afraid to talk just because your team members will laugh at you and you don't want that, they don't want you to say, "Oh, no, another idea from Joe. We don't want to hear from him." So that's a fear. And what we have to do there is work with the culture of the company, right? Work with the team and make people not to talk about ideas. Like when you do a brainstorming, you don't want anyone to say, no, this is a bad idea. No, just nobody talks about how is the idea. You just throw the ideas and write it down. And a way to avoid that, if the company is super structured, you can have ideas just written in papers, anonymous, so that nobody feels afraid of speaking up. Maybe if you have to raise your hand and speak up, you're not used to do that and you are afraid. So just do it anonymously in small postcards. Um, so that's the fear of talking. What about the fear of your idea being wrong? In that case, what you need to do is what I said before, be prepared. Be prepared. So do the research, talk to other people. If you just do it yourself, you may fail because it's just your idea, it's just your way of thinking. You may want to discuss that idea with other team members we have will have that have other experiences, so that they may tell you, hey, you need to get this information. No, you cannot do this, but you can do the other thing. So that's why teams that are multidisciplined with people from different departments are very useful for that, so that you can get all the voices to reduce the risk. And the other way to reduce the risk is that when you um, learn to fail fast. So we are used to, well, in quality especially, we don't have to fail, right? We have to do it right the first time. But the reality is nowadays, if you want things to be perfect, it may take like 3 years. So if we want the perfect vaccine, it may take 5 years, but we cannot stay home for 5 years, right? So we want to go out. So in order to do that, yeah, you may have to fail fast. So try now. That's the example I was providing with the apps. So if I want to build a perfect app, it will take me 3 years. So right now, build a basic app, start trying, make it try to the user, and they can tell you what's wrong now. So that is fail fast. Fail fast means, okay, I take small risk, so I show the things in a pilot to a small amount of people so I can try it and see what's wrong and correct it now. Okay, so those are different ways of reducing the risk so that you don't feel that much fear. And it takes time. If you are used to working this type of structures where ideas are bad word, it's for sure that you will be afraid. But keep practicing, keep changing the environment around you, keep being prepared so that you reduce that risk and you reduce the fear as well.
Wow. So that actually strikes through some related questions that we have here. And I'm
Yes.
afraid we're actually a little bit overboard in terms of the time, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking of collecting all the questions and maybe sending it to you. And let's just publish a collaborative article or some sort of a kind, or maybe upload a video of this questions being answered on your
Oh,
YouTube
yes.
channel, maybe. I'm
Yes,
thinking,
please, we
yeah,
can do that.
yeah. So uh, we don't have much time, so I'm gonna unfortunately, I'm the one who will be cutting the Q&A session. But in behalf of your more than 200 audience coming from the Philippines and other parts of the world, we would like to thank you for gracing this more than an hour event. Thank you for your time, Lou. And I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, and I hope this is not the last time that we will be collaborating in the project. maybe we can launch a masterclass in innovation. I don't know. Let's talk after this call. This is the first time that Lou and I have met in person virtually. So yeah. Please follow Lou on the links provided on her slide. So you can follow bizstorming.com and
Mhm.
on social media accounts like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Yeah, and
If you
also LinkedIn. That's how
Yeah,
you
on
contacted
LinkedIn.
me.
Yes.
Yes.
I just figured out that we were connected via message, but not actually as a connection. So I just added you earlier. So
Awesome. Yes.
that's a
And
bit.
if you're, I don't know if you're ASQ members, but if you're ASQ members right now, you can also access to the platform. Great. And there's a platform right now for the WCQI, the conference, World Conference, but it's
Mm-hmm,
virtual. And there's, you can access for free to my
mm-hmm.
presentation on 5S, successful
Okay.
implementations. So that's also available for you. And again, Instagram, YouTube, or also I have a podcast, Lupolis, and that where you can find a lot of information, and I will upload if this webinar there if it's
Yeah.
possible.
Sure.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed the class and all the
Thank you,
questions,
Lou. Thank
and
you, Lou.
we'll gather all those questions so that they
Yeah,
are all
we will.
answered.
Okay. Bye.
Bye
I'll be
bye.
having some announcement for the audience, but you can actually leave the session.
All right. Have a
Bye.
good night. Right.
Thank you. You too. You too. Keep safe. Keep
Thank.
safe.
Bye bye.
Bye. Hi guys. For the announcement of for some announcement, I don't know if you are seeing my screen. Let me get a hold of it. Hindi pa. Yeah. Okay. So for some announcement, we just concluded the session with Lou on how to drive a culture of innovation. And please don't forget to follow our social media links and our YouTube channel at AsLexPH Academy. And our website is at www.aslexph.com. We are inviting you to our online Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt happening on June 6 to June 27. The second wave has been fully booked, so we closed it at around 40 participants. We also have the second wave of our online Green Belt session happening from June 6 to July 7 from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. So we have 15 more slots to go. We have our first wave of our certified data analyst. So happening from June 1 to July 17. So we're accepting 50% scholarship. So there are some slots that are still available. So you might want to send us a PM via our page. And our next webinar will be on, I think, next week, Thursday or Friday with Engineer Christian Ibanez talking about automation using MS Excel VBA. So the certificates will be provided, I think, during the weekend. I will be asking Lou for her digital signature and a copy of the presentation if she will agree. Now, the most awaited part is the registration form or the attendance form. So instructions, fill up the attendance form in the link. If you haven't registered via the Zoom link, so we cannot give you an e-certificate. That's our policy with regards to our webinar. Only those with both Zoom link and attendance details will be given an e-certificate. Please make sure that your email is correct because it will bounce if it's not. And if if you receive the e-certificate, you can open it using a desktop browser, not a mobile browser. So that's why you're having a problem. So the attendance link will be closed after, I think it was updated to 30 minutes right after this particular session. You can access it via this link, https://bit.ly/2L4PRF4. So I'm gonna copy this here. So I'm gonna stop sharing. You can see my sweat all over my face because it's too hot here in the Philippines. So I'm gonna copy it here. So access it. It will be open in 30 minutes time. So in YouTube, I'm actually copying it. Sir Jojo actually copied it already. So that is the end of our session. Don't forget to like our page, our YouTube channel. I'm really sweaty because it's very hot. So thank you for joining us tonight. Let's see each other again on our next episode of Alpha TV, brought to you by Aztec Speech Academy in partnership with IXLCI Review and Pinoy IEs. Maraming salamat, magandang gabi at mag-ingat po tayong lahat. Bye!
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Miss Lou.
Bye,
Thank you.
Lou!